York's classic rock, Q1043.
I think this is the third or fourth time I am welcoming to our pre 9/11 commemoration show Jay Winuk of 9/11 Day of Service. He is one of the founders, and this year is completely upended by COVID-19. First of all, welcome, and I hope you're well and safe.
Thank you. I am. Same to you.
And I want you to, again, if this is the first time people are hearing your story, explain how you came up with this day of service, how 9/11 so personally touched your life 19 years ago.
It did. Thank you for the opportunity to spend some time with your listeners and to share my story and information about the 9/11 Day observance. My brother, Glenn Winuk, was a partner at the Holland and Knight law firm, whose offices were downtown back in 2001. And for 20 years, Glenn was also a volunteer firefighter and an EMT in our hometown of Jericho on Long Island. And so when the towers were hit, Glenn did what firefighters do. You know, he helped evacuate the law offices at 195 Broadway and then borrowed some equipment from first responders on the scene and headed into the South Tower to save lives. And he perished when the South Tower collapsed. So I think he's a real American hero, one of course, countless from that day. But his actions helped inspire me and my co-founder, David Payne, and others to try and start this National Day of Service.
And so what is it that you have done, because you've accomplished so much over the years, and what is it that you're going to do this year? What can we do, really?
Yeah, it's a different kind of year, isn't it? Well, you know, we started this as a grassroots initiative, and it was, the goal was to reflect, at least on this one day each year, the way good people of the world came together after the attacks, and to try and take back the day really from the terrorists. We thought that that spirit of compassion and unity and focusing in on our common humanity instead of that which separates us was the best way, or one great way, to mark the day each year. And so, you know, we met with all the leaders of 9/11 organizations that had surfaced, and there was universal acceptance that this made sense. Fast forward, eventually we were successful with the help of so many others in getting 9/11 designated as a national day of service. So it's one of only two in the country designated as such under federal law, along with MLK Junior Day. And from there, we have built it and built it and built it, and it is now the largest annual day of charitable engagement in the United States, with tens of millions of people marking the day by doing good deeds in honor of those who perished and those who rose in service. But yes, Shelley, you know, certainly this year is different because people tend to volunteer and do good deeds and act in kindness to others, often in person, right? And so this year there is a shift.
So what can we do this year?
Well, you know, we, for the last several years, including aboard the Intrepid, but also in other places all over the country, have staged signature projects bringing people together, thousands of people together each year as a way to demonstrate the day of service by doing these massive meal packs, you know, packing millions of meals all on 9/11 and pushing them out to the community, working with local food banks. This year, we were going to be in 14 cities packing millions of meals as a demonstration of people's recognition of the day of service. And of course, we can't do that. So we resolved a month or so ago that that's just not gonna work given the conditions of the pandemic. But all along, we had been planning a more virtual experience in case it came to that. And indeed, of course, it did. So we are doing two major projects. One is we have just launched 9/11 Day at Home, which we think, come 9/11, is going to be the largest virtual volunteering day in the history of the country. And in fact, it may afford even more people to participate because if you visit our website, 911day.org, you'll see suggestions of dozens of good deeds people can do from the safety of their own home without having to gather with others. And so that's one great program. And we're doing another great program in partnership with World Central Kitchen to get meals from local restaurants in cities across the country delivered to first responders and people on the front lines, as a way to help those local businesses that are suffering because of the pandemic, but also as a thank you to those who are taking care of us.
What sort of things can people do at home?
Well, there's such a diversity of good deeds, of course, and anything we suggest are just thought starters and suggestions. But your listeners, your viewers will see links and information about hunger relief projects that they could support, social justice projects, supporting our military veterans, supporting causes that focus on mental health, domestic violence, there's the environment. There's such a wide range of great causes and organizations out there that if you visit our website, you'll see all of those, and you can select something that makes sense. And there's no cost to get involved. These are just great suggestions for people from the safety of their own home, their own desktop, can support these initiatives without coming in direct contact with other people.
But can you support these initiatives more than just financially, more than just donating money?
Yes, absolutely. There are all kinds of ways to get involved. And, you know, each organization, each cause has a different configuration or ways for people to engage. So the best way to explore this, I think, is to go to 911day.org, click on some of these, do some of your own research with the links that we provided. And it's really a tremendous way to mark the day, to pay tribute to those who were lost and those who rose in service, but also doing something meaningful and impactful that's personally important to you.
And again, the website?
911day.org.
That's easy, 911day.org. Now, I was wondering, you personally, because you were one of those who suffered a loss on 9/11, what will you be doing that day? Because the whole reading of the names, that was canceled by the 9/11 Museum, but then resurrected by the Stephen Siller Tunnel to Towers Foundation. There's that. And so what do you, and then on the other hand, you have the FDNYers who are told, well, you shouldn't be going to any event that's indoors or any event that's outdoors more than 2 hours long or any event outdoors with more than 50 people because the FDNY commissioner doesn't want to put his own crews at risk of COVID-19. I mean, the whole thing is just...
Yeah. There's no easy answers. These are difficult times, especially when your activities involve gathering people together. Of course, at the memorial, the ceremony will go on, and the reading of the names won't be live. They're rather being broadcast throughout the Memorial Plaza, pre-recorded by family members for other purposes. And so those names will be read, but not by live individuals on site, yes, for safety reasons. I have been in the city, in Manhattan. I live an hour outside of Manhattan, but each of the last 19 years. And this will likely be the first time that I won't be in the city. I usually spend 3 or 4 days doing all kinds of 9/11 related activities, of course, and paying my respects at the memorial, but I actually haven't been to the city since early March. I could go if needed, but we're all in so much of a more virtual mode, so I have a great deal of important work to do, helping to orchestrate the National Day of Service that I can do virtually right from my desktop. So chances are I'll be home. But it will be different. But we're also at the same time, Shelley, gearing up for next year, which will be the 20th anniversary of 9/11. And we're in the process of talking to a lot of our corporate sponsors and faith-based groups and other nonprofits and 9/11 organizations and municipalities and so many others, where if we are all back to normal or semi-normal, hopefully for the 20th anniversary, we expect it to be an extraordinary observance, not only domestically, but internationally.
I am speaking with Jay Winuk. He is one of the co-founders of 9/11 Day. And for you to volunteer to participate, just go online, 911day.org. So what sort of things are in the works for the 20th anniversary? Because that will be a historic moment. Besides, I mean, you talked about getting in touch with corporations, but do you have a specific goal for the 20th?
We do have certain goals. You know, our expectation, as I mentioned, was going to be, just with our signature meal packs, for example, was going to be 14 cities, you know, this year, next week. For the 20th, we have set our sights on doing that in 20 cities, coast to coast throughout the United States. Potentially with volunteers packing more than 10 million meals in one day for people who are at risk of hunger. So that's one major goal and one major project that, of course, if conditions allow, we will be working towards. And so that's really important. We have a very robust education program that we are going to expand because to us, it's very important that young people now who have no real direct memory, of course, of the events of 9/11, learn the lessons of 9/11, not only from a historical point of view in terms of how our nation and our freedoms and our way of life were attacked, but how people came together to get this country back on its feet, which is something, of course, that we need right now during this pandemic, for people to get together and to embrace each other, not physically, but work together to get past these difficult times. So we're going to build up our education program even more, which is already in tens of thousands of schools and classrooms that teachers and parents and educators use, which is going to be very important. We're going to be attempting to broaden our outreach internationally some for the 20th anniversary. So we have a lot of big plans, and then some other plans which is a little bit too early to talk about. So
there are children today that there are children of firefighters who are currently firefighters who have no memories of 9/11. So the educational component is just so incredibly important that
it really
we
is.
hashtag never forget.
Yeah, it really is important. But, you know, one of our goals really early on, Shelley, and I think you know this, but your listeners should know, when we started this attempt to build this national observance, was about the future, this wasn't just about for people who had been alive and have direct memories of what this attack did to our country, and about how we all bonded together afterwards for months, really for months. This observance is about setting a foundation for 50 years from now, so that people, you know, they wake up on 9/11 and they know, you know what, today's a day to do a good deed, because we can never forget. And too often these important moments in history, we don't focus enough, we don't teach enough about the real meaning. And so we have always wanted to give people an opportunity to participate that allows them to remember and pay tribute, but also to make a meaningful difference to something that matters to them, something that matters to their community. So it's so important. And, you know, even though the research shows that 30 million people participated last time around in the National Day of Service, that's only a fraction of the country. We want really this observance to become ubiquitous, so that everybody really realizes it's a day of service and that it's really simple to be heroic in somebody else's life.
Thank you so much, Jay Winuk. And to do your part, all you have to do, go online, 911day.org. Join in on September 11th. Do some good out of a tragedy that was just so horrific for our country. Do some good, 911day.org. Thank you.
Thank you.
New York's classic rock, Q1043.